might have clicked on one of my budget, eco-friendly home projects, DIYs, thrifting, meal ideas, or other ways I save money. My channel is about sharing my journey learning, expanding, and my knowledge and skills on ways to be more resourceful and sustainable living and lifestyle while adapting to the challenges in an ever-changing economy. I am sure you too can relate and have similar goals. I love to be creative, and I hope by me sharing my journey through life, we can learn and grow together. Would be happy if you hit that subscribe button now, and I'm so glad you are here today with me. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Hi guys, welcome back to my basement. I am in the second part of the gel staining process for my doors in my basement. Last week's video, I was able to prep the doors before I started gel staining them. So that was just essentially cleaning the doors and caulking the door trims, like in between the trim and the board of the door frame, and then also painting the doors. I didn't really care what the color of the paint looks like, so I know it doesn't match this, but that's not the goal here. The goal is to gel stain without the underlining color of the original doors peeping through or seeping through. If they were just regular, like old school 60 color doors, the wood color, I feel like you would also have to paint them as well to kind of bring that richness of the actual gel stain color that you want and bring that into full effect. So this is the process that I'm doing to gel stain my doors by doing the steps that I did in this video. And so if you want to check out last week's video, I will go ahead and link it below. I'll also attach it in a card as well. I wanted to kind of recap why I decided to gel stain my doors. For one, because they were all different colors. I had two doors on the back sides of them that were a raw kind of wood 1980s door. The other doors were like a 1960s door, and they were painted over with like a lime green color on the opposite sides of two of the other doors. And then the front of the two doors that I had, they were painted like a peach color, which you would have seen in last week's video. Essentially what I wanted to do was to kind of make all the door trims cohesive and match one another and just kind of warm up the space because it was really lacking that warmth. I could have easily painted it, but the color of the basement, I just wasn't really going with, I just wasn't feeling any color. I could have went like with a black to kind of mimic some of the black colors that I have in here, but I felt like bringing that kind of rich wood kind of color would help with bringing the beams that I have in the basement and bringing those kind of all together. So that's kind of what the decision-making process was for me. I could have easily replaced the doors. That would have cost me quite a bit of money. I would have probably had to retrim the doors as well, just because I probably would have went to my local Habitat for Humanity or went on Facebook Marketplace and probably wouldn't have found the right door and had to kind of configure that. And I just didn't want to spend the time or the money doing that. And I wanted to find a way to bring to myself and to you the way you could save money and bring that cost down. And even though the trims aren't matching all in the whole entire space, like the whole basement on the front side has like more of this kind of 2x3 1x3, and then the other half has like the other wood trim that I have upstairs in my main area upstairs. So none of it's just matching, but I can easily match the color of it to kind of bring it all together, and hopefully it'll kind of draw out the fact that everything's really not matching on the underside of it. So I think this is just going to be a great decision that I've made, because it all has cost me under $5 and it all is going to really not take that long at the end of the day. It's really not that long of a project. It's just finding the time to do it. I just kind of wanted to make a quick note that today I am out of sorts. I am not feeling the greatest, and I am really overwhelmed with all the day-to-days and the stuff that I have going on. I have a ton of projects still that I would like to get done in my home. Then I also just have a full-time job, and then I also run my eBay as well. And I also am just doing a lot of like little extracurricular type things in my life that I feel like if I don't do it now, I won't do it later. And so I'm kind of just going with the fact that it's a temporary kind of chaos and crazy right now. Managing my schedule and stuff like that has not been easy with all the other stuff, because I have three kids that need doctor appointments, help with taxes, help with educational stuff like filing FAFSAs and things like that. And while I could easily have them do it on their own, they have lots of questions, and I feel like I'm the person that should be answering those questions. And so I want to sit alongside with them, help them, so that one day they can find a way to do it on their own. And now, while I'm the only person that is in the home to actually do projects and take care of all these other things, now I could have my kids, you know, be more on hand with these type of projects and stuff like that, and they do help, but it's not their responsibility. So I do like when they can help me with the projects and help out where needed, because I do think it's teaching them how to be adults one day, so that if they have a project in their home that they would like to do, that they kind of have those skills to start it or figure out a way to start the process and have that confidence going into something on their own when they become adults and live on their own and own their own homes, and how to handle stuff like that. So I do think it's a benefit for me having them help me out where needed, but it's also a benefit for them. Does that make sense? I think it does. So at any rate, I don't want to ramble too much on, but I just wanted to say that I am not feeling the greatest. I'm overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I have a little bit too much tasks going on, but I have to kind of bring things down a little bit and focus on this and get it done, and just pick myself up, get the project done, and know that at the end of the day, I'm happy that I got it done and I can move on to the next. And that's kind of where I'm at. And so I'm here with you guys today to share with you guys this gel staining process and letting you know that I'm kind of struggling a little bit. And if you are too, maybe that's a little motivation, that if you're trying to work on a project and you're just not feeling that motivation or inspiration, or just feeling a little too overwhelmed, know that you're not alone and we're in this together. So I have 4 doors, 5 trims, and I have actually already gel stained 1 coat on one of the other doors. But as far as sharing the process with you guys, I just wanted to start with this one for the first coat, and then share with you guys the second coat process and what I'm going to be doing with the second coat. So the first part of the first coat that I'm putting on these doors and trims, I'm just going to take a rag. You can use a rag, you can use a old microfiber cloth, you can use an old t-shirt, what have you. I wouldn't suggest like a paper towel or anything like that. You could use a brush even too. Know that you're eventually going to have to throw away the product because it is quite messy and it stains like none other. And so I actually already have my gel staining painting clothes on and ready to go, but I just wanted to quickly share with you guys what I'm using for the first coat. And then on the second coat, I am using this kind of bristle bottle brush that I got from the Dollar Tree. I had gotten this from the Dollar Tree as well. It's kind of like a paint trim guide for when you're painting down the trim and things like that, so you don't have to put painter's tape on and waste your painter's tape. I might eventually have to use painter's tape because of the gel staining process. It might just kind of seep through, and I'm kind of afraid with that, but we'll test it out and see how it works. If it is, it's going to take a lot longer to get this done, and I'm not looking forward to that, but nonetheless, here we are. And so at any rate, I thinking that, because I ideally would like a chip brush to do my second coat, and the reason for that is because when I'm putting the second coat of the gel stain on, I want to pull that gel stain down with these like brushes, giving that kind of wood look, because if I just gel stain it and then gel stain a second coat on it, I'm just going to get a solid gel stain wood color instead of the actual effect that it is actually wood. So I think that this is going to work. So essentially this whole entire project is going to cost me under $5 because I got my paint and my gel stain from under the sink. For the gel staining, I am going to use this gel stain that I found at my local under the sink for free, and it's in the color Hickory. And then I am going to make sure that I use a mask and some gloves. That way I protect myself. And I think that it's best if you're not in a well-ventilated area to also have a fan going to kind of vent out some of the intense smells that the gel staining process brings. And you should be doing that with paint too if it has an odor to it. And then of course wear gel staining paint clothes, stuff that you don't care about throwing out at a later date. So we shall see how this works. I do have another paintbrush from the Dollar Tree that I could get and incorporate it into this process if this isn't working. But I don't have a chip brush, but I do recommend getting a chip brush when gel staining and wanting kind of more of that organic wood type look. So if you are actually wanting kind of a step-by-step somebody that's more professional with the gel staining, I'm not a whole expert on it. I just go projects with the confidence that I have to doing it and just kind of going with it. But anyway, you can definitely find a bunch of YouTubers that do gel staining processes. So I've got my gloves on, got this ready, got my gel stain ready, and let's go ahead and get into gel staining these doors. What I recommend is that you let your paint dry the amount of time that it needs to dry. It will all depend on if you are in a cooler or warmer or more humid or less humid environment. So for me, I would just suggest waiting a day before you gel stain just so it absorbs properly. But really with my case, it was a matte paint and it really quickly absorbed and dried rather quickly. So I was able to gel stain the first coat on at least one of the doors just to kind of test it out to see what it was gonna look like and have it ready for this video to do the second coat right after I did the first coat on this. So what I do suggest as well is also just putting that painter's tape around everything instead of using this edging tool, especially if it's in a textured space, because it's not gonna get into the sides where it needs to go. It's gonna kind of seep through if you have textured spaces or gaps or what have you. So that is one thing I do suggest. But the gel staining process is you have to be really careful, especially with the matte paint. Working with the matte paint and applying the first coat of gel stain, it really absorbs rather quickly as well. Now it doesn't settle and set right away, but it does kind of, it's harder to work with when you're pulling that material off with a microfiber cloth or whatever type
type of product you're using, but I do suggest that first coat of gel stain that you use a microfiber cloth or some sort of cloth that isn't going to have a whole lot of like disintegration or anything like that, so you're not having a lot of material from your cloth kind of dissolving into the gel stain, if that kind of makes sense. But that was my experience. And then I also used a paintbrush in the corners, which you'll kind of see a little later, to get into the corners and crevices of the doors, because in some of the spaces it wasn't working with a microfiber cloth or with the brush that I was using to apply that second coat. So but at any rate, with the first coat, you really have to kind of pull that material off, and then I think it is suggested to use like a light block sanding tool, which I might do before I do a polyurethane coat, but I think I'm going to do the polyurethane because I think I want to do a even matter look than what it is giving, which you'll see kind of later. But I think it's going to turn into a 3-part video because of me wanting to use the matte polyurethane on this final coat. But I do want to try to sand down that second coat because I didn't do it after the first coat, and see what it does. I'm afraid that it's going to pull off the product, and I don't want to do that, so I'm kind of nervous. I might do like a test wood and see what I can do on a test piece of wood that's painted and gel stained to see if it's going to be pulling off the product, so I don't ruin the doors, because I am kind of happy with where they're at. I just want them a little bit more matte, less shiny than what they are, but we shall see. I haven't decided yet. So I'm just going around and doing the first coat, and then I'm now doing the second coat. So you really do want to wait a full curated process before doing your second coat. And I suggest that if you're going to do something like this, even waiting like 2 or 3 days for that first coat to really fully absorb and dry and apply to the doors and the trims before you start that second coat. So that is actually what I did, which is why I'm kind of getting this video out a little late. And quick note, I was only able to get 4 of the sides of the doors completed, so I have another 4 sides. Yeah, I have another 4 sides to complete. And now I might end up only doing 2, because the 2 doors are entering into 2 different closet spaces, storage spaces, in the other side of the doors in each of those rooms. And so I might just leave it a painted color on the inside of the closets. I'm not really sure yet, because those closets are storage spaces and they're not finished.
Okay, so don't mind my crazy hair. We just got done swimming, took a little break, and I just wanted to quickly share with you guys that I am not going to be going with using this tool, because I wasn't happy with what I was working with. For one, because it was splashing everywhere, and for 2, it wasn't dragging down the way I wanted it to, probably like a chip brush would. So that was a waste. And so now I am going to try to use this tool. So I think what I'm going to try to do is just kind of use it like a paintbrush. I have my paint tray here, and I really don't want to get a stain on it because gel stain is really hard to clean up. But I'm going to just dump some gel stain in here, and then I'm just gonna like wipe it kind of like this ever so lightly, and then I'm going to just drag it down the door, and then I'm going to take a microfiber cloth, because I've been feeling like that's been what my best option is when wiping the material off. And so that's what I think I'm going to do. This first door that I have here, the first coat went on fairly well because I used a microfiber cloth to kind of drag that material off. But the second and third door that I used, the back and the front, this gel stain was not pulling off of the door. It was because, I think it was because of the cloth that I was using, and it was kind of like a sweatshirt material. So I'm not too happy about that, but we're gonna work with this. I think hopefully it'll work because it's kind of got that same chip brush kind of effect. I did get this at the Goodwill bins a while back ago. It is a very well used product, so I'm not worried about the material not cleaning off of this and having to throw it out. So that is what we're working with, and I'm ready for this project to be over. For one, I didn't go into it very motivated to do this, but it needs to get done, and so come along with me as I get this second coat on the doors.
So now that I got the second coat on the trim, I'm going in with this brush that I shared with you guys just here a second ago, and I'm pulling straight down on this second coat. So like the first coat, I kind of like did circular motions, but the second coat, I'm really focused on pulling the brush straight down and to get that kind of wood grain effect. And so you also, after you're applying the second coat and dragging that material straight down, you also want to take the microfiber cloth or whatever cloth you're using and pulling that product off and going straight down with the same effect. And so I'm not sure again if I'm gonna sand block this with a sander before I do a matte polyurethane, but I think this video, I'm going to close it out and do a third video to kind of share with you guys the full effect and how these turned out. And I will see you again next week as I share with you guys the final wrap up of getting these doors gel stain. But I'm really excited. These are really turning out really well, and I'm excited to share this with you guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one. Stay safe out there. Bye.